Sunshine State, the great state of Florida. And what does your Uncle Charlotte always say? The craziest people in America come from the Bronx and all of Florida.
I'm Big Bubba crossing my black car. It's booby traps and pit bulls crossing my backyard. I'm still strapped, boy, these handguns on Vanguard. I like going against the grain cause my hand hard. Bae, I used to thug hard to see this crack hard. I don't thug nothing but the motherfucking task force. Me and two Rook running shit, we like the fat boys. Paid cash for it, so I try to and fast forward. I put it all in your face like you asked for. Most of you love frontin' like the dashboard. I get it chalked out like the blackboard. I got the ghetto off glass like the backboard. Most of my niggas ride till it ain't no gas for. We been outside like ain't no map for. Been outside like ain't no map for.
I swear to God, these motherfucking jets in Florida is different. Man, I was at this house the other night. Gave her little son one melatonin, thinking this little motherfucker gonna go to sleep. Hell nah, the little motherfucker ain't go to sleep. I ended up giving this little the whole goddamn bottle. He ate them all. It was up all motherfucking night.
I'm in all white ones. Picture could get me a Cy Young. We feel like nuns. No f***s giving like Spice One. We feel like bums. Don't change that I might run. Feel like buns. Shit sit when the price jump. I got white bumps. These bags kill it price plump. You only die once. I know you a snake with a sliced tongue. I can't trust you. I'ma dust you. Ain't no checking temperature. It's you, then it's you. These laws I'm stuck to. You know how many 12-12s I run through? My get cut, but my girlfriends get cut loose. My get hit like kung fu. I love the streets, but they never told me I love you.
You already know. I'm straight from Florida, G. You know, bottom of the motherfucking map. Home of motherfucking Uncle Luke. Home of Trick Daddy. Home of Kodak Black. Nothing but gold teeth, wigs, and motherfucking sticks. You already know. Bottom of the map. FLA. Shaped like a motherfucking Hezbollah. Have it, want it. I ain't got no damn business at church. Cause all I be doing is looking at damn prints in that bitch. I'm talking about, man. You know how up it is? Like, you ever got hard in church before? Like, ain't that some shit? You get hard in church when you in there, like, you know you wrong. You know you wrong, but...
Welcome back. You're back on the bench. On the Bench Podcast with Bubba and Pink on my sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All right. We have a good show for you guys today, as always. We're going to be talking about the NBA. Okay, you got the Lakers, some Lakers talk, some, Mike Malone getting fired over in Denver. They kind of let the whole front office go. Yeah. All of that good stuff. Okay, Florida Gators. Okay, a few days passed, but we still got to talk about it. Winning the national, the national championship in college basketball. And then you got Trump, the tariffs, and things like that. We'll get into that and some other things as well. All right, man. I meant to text Jolly a little early. I'm gonna text him. You know, on Netflix, there's a I think Jolly may be on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I haven't clicked on it yet. But you know the whole what is that? Kill Tony?
Yeah.
Killers Tony or what have you. You know, they put out a special on Netflix with all of the like up and coming comedians and what have you, and he's on. Jolly's picture is on the thing, so he has to be.
Well,
on.
I was gonna say he better be on there.
But I haven't seen it on his Instagram, and I was gonna text him. That seems like something like
promote.
Yeah, I know it's not yours, but this is the first time on Netflix.
Right.
But I'll confirm and I'll watch. I need to watch anyway. Yeah. I know Cam should be on there too. Another comedian from Orlando. If we can get two on there, man, it would be cooking with hot sauce. Yeah. But those guys are killing it, man. Jolly is doing this new thing too on his Instagram. It's incredibly funny and encompassing another character. Doing that character comedy stuff, man, it's good work, man. He's putting in some good work, man. Shout out to Jolly.
Yeah, it's come a long way from guy that blew up the bathroom here at the studio.
Friend of the show. All right, but yeah, man, let's get started here. there's a lot going on in the world of the NBA. So first things first, I want to go to the Lakers. Right, they're playing right now, and they played last night. Where are we at? Where am I at here? I can't see anything. There we go.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So they had the second game against OKC. That Luka is back in Dallas tonight, and they lose the second. If you was, it wasn't a back-to-back, but it's like a home and home. They played OKC. They won the first one, lost the second one. Okay, and then we'll see where this game goes in Dallas tonight. All right, but my main thing was, and you asked me when we came in here, my main thing was even after the game against OKC when they lost. I posted on social media like, man, the Thunder are tough, but they don't want to see the Lakers in the playoffs. It's easy and visible to see that the Lakers have their number, and that is something I did not see as even a possibility like a week or two ago. That's the craziest thing. I thought OKC was such a dominant team, and because of their size, athleticism, the number one defense in the league by not even by a sizable margin. I thought they would run through a team like the Lakers, being with the deficiencies that the Lakers have.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case, man.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing the score, the first game when the Lakers won handily, and my first reaction to seeing just the score was, oh, maybe OKC didn't play everybody. But they more or less had their people, and then you have the game coming back this week. And I kind of thought it was funny. I was watching the Lakers or the Boston and the Knicks, but I saw the Lakers were up, and then sometime there after that, I saw you post on this very issue that the Lakers might have something for OKC. And then I woke up in the morning and realized the Lakers had lost the game, but I kind of missed all the drama that went into that game with Luka's ejection, multiple Ts, and a lot of strange stuff down the stretch. But I am surprised. I mean, it feels like OKC has been so consistently good all year in every metric of basketball that, it's a little weird to see them maybe flummoxed by a team. And the Lakers, obviously they have the big two, but you don't feel they're a complete team. They're somewhat flawed in the lack of size and lack of options in the bigger positions. So it is a little funny to see that, hey, maybe these guys really bother OKC more than anybody else.
Yeah, and it's still so confusing. I know it starts with Luka and LeBron. LeBron had a really big third quarter, and I know it starts there, but that's just for a team like OKC who has the perimeter defenders that they have. It's just so surprising, man. And you have Shai Gilgeous after the game. He's talking with the reporter, and he's saying, "Oh yeah, after the last game we got stomped, and we knew that we had to come into this game and really want it, take it, and because we're not the type of team that's going to lose, back-to-back games and all this stuff." And again, man, without the Luka ejection, and even after the Luka ejection, they had a Vanderbilt had a technical foul right on the play ensuing that. And then you had another extra penalty shot that OKC took. The game just got really weird in LeBron's voice. And LeBron, that's what he said after the game, after the Luka ejection, the game just got weird. And without that, man, without the game getting weird, the OKC is losing that game. And again, you look at this young team who has had, a successful regular season in the past, and of course, as a really young team, they lost in the playoffs. Then you come back this year, number one team in the West by far, and if they go out early, man, I'm talking about first or second round, I know you're more towards on the side of, hey, you want to keep this together, but I think there will be a move that needs to be made. Now, and last thing I'll say on that is Kenyon Martin said something very interesting, and he said that if you really look at it, you can look at it from the lens of, yes, OKC was a dominant regular season team this year, but is that the same as in years past? Can you Can any team just rely on their regular season success and be deemed as a successful team? Because in this era, man, you just got a lot of guys sitting out a lot of games. And if you're a team who is pretty much playing everyone and you have some level of decency about you, you're going to beat the teams that are without their stars.
Yeah, there's some soft wins over the 82 games with the amount of teams that sit people and various situations. So I don't disagree with that point, but I do feel 2 points. The post-game comments by Shea, he's smart enough to know that game got weird after the ejection. And I feel that part of what he's doing is kind of almost like trying to speak confidence into himself and his team, almost to rule out that the Lakers might have a little something for them that they're not comfortable with. And then I generally, and I know I did pick OKC to win the title, and I'm not going to back off of that.
I picked them to come out the West.
But I generally feel that, particularly in basketball, there's usually like a playoff progression that most of these teams go through, where they kind of make some runs, get into the deeper runs, build some toughness through scars of defeat, and finally break through. And there's always a feeling that until a team does break through, that they're somehow flawed and can't. And I think like the Celtics were that. They'd been in the playoffs and made runs and been to a finals and hadn't gotten a win in that setting until last year. And there's always a lingering question until they actually did it is, can Brown and Tatum lead a team to a championship? And until they did it, it is what it is. I think Denver falls into that category as well. They had not been a great playoff team until they made their run and won the title.
Here goes the difference with that, though.
Go ahead.
People were talking about splitting, Brown and Tatum up as the move to make.
Yeah.
I want to make this. I'm not saying like trade Shea Gilgeous and try to, I'm not saying trade Chet Holmgren. I'm not saying like anything, nuts like that.
Right.
But I am saying make a significant move on the perimeter, right? Just one move, because what they do need is a second reliable go-to scorer. Now Jalen is growing, and he very well can grow into that. But who knows when? He's so young, and who knows when, and who knows if. And he's not at that level that Tatum or Brown was at, that Jokic or Murray was at. Like before they actually won, we're talking about a guy, Murray was having 50-point playoff games. We're talking about guys and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown who were all-stars, who were on all NBA type performers and things like that. Like this, Jalen is none of the above. And so I'm saying you move on from a guy like Jalen or Lou Dort, guys who have a lot of stock in the NBA. Like people will make a move for those guys, and you can get a reliable scorer on the wing. That's my only point.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't getting yet to the point of moving guys. I was just saying like this is a relatively young team. They haven't accomplished very much in the playoffs. And until they do, there's always going to be a skepticism, even with the great regular season record. And I think that's where Martin's coming from, is that hey, they still got to show us in the playoffs when everything's at its peak. Now to the issue that you kind of addressed is like if they fall short.
Yeah.
Now, and I don't know that the impetus is all that different whether like they were to fail in the first round or get to the final and fail, because either way, like it raises questions, and either way you can feel for slightly different reasons you need more, you need something different. Now, obviously, if you get knocked out early, the narrative is going to be like probably that you're soft or lack experience to win in the playoffs, and that's why you're out in round one. If you get to the final and lose there, or the conference final and lose there, usually the journey of the playoffs will expose some frailty about your roster, that you need to fill. And I would actually say making a longer run in the playoffs probably reveals more about what your actual shortcoming is than getting knocked out early. You might be able to see like, hey, we just don't have enough shooting to win, these final 2 series, or we may not have enough, whatever that element is, or too many one-dimensional guys, and then you're going to have a more specific data to realize what it is that you might need that can change the corner. And I'm also big on this though too. Is like I like to see players develop and grow and improve, but it is true the Thunder have an MVP or MVP candidate, and they have a bunch of good sub-all-star players. And the interesting thing with Jalen and with Chet, like, how close are they to being the best version of themselves? Do they, like, theoretically they could get better, but do they? Does one or both of those guys kind of really take a leap, maybe offensively, to become that second scoring option? Or do they just kind of tap out at kind of something close to what they are as scoring options? And the way you look at this team, because they have Shea as the one main scoring option, there is a job to be had as that number 2 offensive guy. And whether Jalen fills it or Chet fills it, or they feel that they need to go outside and fill it, that's a job that's open. Some people on certain teams and situations, you're kind of boxed into what you are. Maybe it's third option. You're not touching it. Like Austin Reeves for the Lakers. He ain't going to be option 1 or 2, during this iteration of the Lakers. But the Thunder aren't that way yet. You have Shea, but that second spot, if one of those guys were to take a significant leap offensively as an elite scorer, it's there for the taking. But if you're not able to take it, they're going to have to reassess and look at other options.
Yeah, but how long do you roll that cord out for? How long do you keep coming back?
When I look at it that way, like I really, I do think you could be onto something in that depending on the nature of the failure in the playoffs, assuming they fail, maybe you do something like why sit, But I do, it's a tough decision.
Because in my opinion, I think when you look at team building, I really think it's 2 different things there. Because if you have a young team, like, whatever, Orlando Magic, teams that are young, Atlanta Hawks, things like that, but you can keep whatever, running it back or what have you, because you have a young team and there's whatever, maybe a mid, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th seed, 9th seed or whatever. You look and see if these guys can grow and get better. But when you have a championship team with an MVP, I think MVP or MVP candidate, I think you owe it to your organization and your fans to go for it at that time and not wait for the young guys to develop. Because, see, they have championship role players, okay? They have an MVP, okay, in a great system. Now is the time to go out and complete this and go for it. Because I think you're kind of fooling yourself. And now again, that's if all fails this year. I picked OKC with knowing this was an issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I think it's a really. In reality, it's a very weird time to have this conversation because
it is.
If they win the title and there's
then it's
nothing,
like whatever.
We figured it out.
Yeah.
But we're almost assuming they fail and come up short. And,
yeah, because
so that's the thing.
Because I don't like what I see. And then go ahead. You had something to say.
Two quick points. The one thing, like again, I do think. You do need to balance like being open to change because we don't know what the opportunity is. You get to the offseason, you don't know 100% what a player is going to be available to you. We could bounce names around and whatever, but we do not know who they're going to have a chance to get or who they can't get. And so for me, when you're building a team, it is somewhat year to year. You are invested in the development of your players, but opportunity strikes when it does. And I wouldn't rule out completely there's no way we ever make a move if suddenly somebody's available that we never thought would be. And there's no greater example of that than Luka going to the Lakers in the middle of the season. There's no way that you're sitting there thinking that that's going to happen until it does.
Yeah. And it's so not like they were dangling Anthony Davis out to 30 teams.
Right. So that's part of it. So you gotta think in that context for sure. And again, the other thing that we just talked about the Celtics, I did, Tatum and Brown. But look at what they did the whole time those guys were there. Like they brought in Kyrie. They brought in Porzingis. They brought in Derek White. They brought in Drew Holiday. They've always, those two guys have been together, but they've always been willing to roll the dice on other pieces. They let Marcus Smart go. And it's clear at this point that they got the best there was to get out of Marcus Smart.
But that's the difference for me. That's the difference for me because Boston had to find it. OKC already has it. What they need is different from what Boston needed. And Boston needed a lot more than what OKC needs. Boston needed their entire cast of other role players, of elite role players, championship role players. They had none really, and they had to get that piece by piece by piece, and then essentially you win a championship. The difference is OKC already has all of those pieces.
See, I look at it differently than you do. I do. I feel like Boston concluded that they had Tatum and Brown.
Yeah.
And despite the whatever was going on outside of that, they knew that was what they had, and they were, to me, essentially fearless in any other guy on that roster to move if they thought they could upgrade.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the opportunities are going to be in offseason for OKC, but I would be equally fearless in moving any particular part of this roster depending on what's available in return.
Yeah,
and
saying the same thing.
But I mean, if it means moving Lou Dort or moving Jalen Williams or whatever, I would be open to it
100%.
if it makes us better. But I do think the Celtics have to be credited for finding that balance between identifying and standing by a core for multiple years while simultaneously being aggressive in rotating the rest of the roster.
100%. I mean, 100%. It's definitely elite front office work by Boston. I mean, and now, I mean, completely healthy. I mean, they're damn near unbeatable. I mean, that's the type of team they've assembled. And another thing I was thinking about, even on the ride in here, is, Boston is going to be such a monster to defeat. And the only way to really, in my opinion, to build a team to even compete with them is to really, you have to find quality role players who are not over the hill, who are willing to take less money. And that's so hard to find, but they've been able to do that. They got lucky with Al Horford because Al Horford had already been overpaid by Philly. He had a near max contract deal with Philly. And so he's able to say, okay, hey, this didn't work out here. I have an opportunity to go to a championship contending team. I'll take whatever, essentially whatever you guys will give me. I've already made my money.
Right.
And he still, at that time, he was still at a good age, as far as, to compete as an elite role player. All right. Same thing for Drew Holiday. Okay. Now Derek White just got a contract last year, and it's a nice size contract for a role player. But you got Porzingis on a damn, I've been hurt for a long time. Just give me whatever you have type deal.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be incredibly hard to do for other teams, but that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to need, the Lakers are going to need Vanderbilt if I can hit, shoot 45% from three to compete.
Yeah.
And whatever.
Yeah. And even the thing with, like Horford's a great example. He was part of the Celtics under the Jaylen Brown Tatum, left, and then came back.
Yeah.
Again, and everybody was willing to be okay with that.
Yeah. He left to go get his money.
But I get it. But it was still, bridges weren't burned. It was and to be honest, one of the guys that we joked around with or talked about with OKC would be Kevin Durant. Mm-hmm. But there is a weird feeling that bridge might have been burned in some way, either potentially on both sides, that may not be a feasible thing, when in fact maybe it is not bad.
Now, on the other side of things, that's the OKC side. I think that was a good convo there. We have the Lakers side of things, right? And then we have Luka, getting ejected from the game. You have historically been a guy who, you hate that side of Luka that always, argues with the referees and things like that. But in this particular game, like I said, he wasn't talking to the referee. I thought the referee was completely FOS, full of dog shit. And even to the point where Vanderbilt after the game was like, in the beginning of the game, they had a conversation with the referee, and he was like, yeah, anybody can talk to me except for that guy. pointed at Luka. Luka was outside of. It wasn't even talking to the refs. It was Vanderbilt and LeBron right there. That's in the very beginning of the game. But from his history, he's built that. He's of course that referee has ref Luka a bunch of times, and he's already up to 9.5. Anytime he's reffing Luka.
Unfortunately, his prior conduct has made him a recurring target.
Yeah. Now,
and
I don't agree with that from a referee standpoint. Now, Luka has to fucking deal with it, but
Yeah.
I don't think a referee should come into a game with past transgressions. That's not professional. I think every game should be individual upon itself. And then what's even more bullshit, which the league shouldn't even do. Not even this situation, in all situations. Then you come out and you rescind the tech and say, hey, well, yeah, we made a mistake. We shouldn't have gave you a tech and kicked you out the game. That's horse shit.
Yeah.
Well, do something to the referee then. He needs to be reprimanded. Take money, suspend him for a game or something, because that's horse shit.
Like put him in a situation where he's not allowed to referee in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like he's just your regular season ends with the teams that didn't make the playoffs.
Because you totally you disrupted the whole flow of the game by taking a star out when he didn't even do anything. He was talking to a fan, and again, like I said, no player in the history of the NBA has ever gotten a tech or a warning or anything from talking to a fan in the history of the game. So that's crazy.
In a real sense, the second in that pregame conversation, the second he said anybody could talk to me but him, in my opinion, the referee disqualified himself from being fit to do the job that night. You can't go into the game with that mentality. And, but the same token is we want things to be fair and equitable sometimes, but we know they're not. And if we know they're not, you got to conduct yourself in a certain way.
100%.
And Luka didn't have the wherewithal to do that.
Now, you come into tonight's game, and I'm just checking now. Luka has 31 at halftime.
Yeah.
Now that's funny because I was really looking at taking the over for Luka. I was like, I don't know, because sometimes when players go back for the first time to a team that had traded them or whatever type of conflict it was there, like Jimmy Butler, like completely from an individual statistical standpoint, he shit the bed when he went back to the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
And had a really bad game. So if you hit the over on Jimmy, thinking, oh, he's going to come and really hand it to him, you're going to lose your money. And a lot of times, more times than not, that is what happens a lot. But from a fan, you're thinking, oh, this guy hates this team. He's going to go back and he's going to be a superhero. But that's not really the case. Can you?
I would have went if I'm not a gambling man. I would have banked on Luka tonight.
Just because of the type of
the nature of the departure.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy, and I think this matters. Psychologically, Jimmy's bounced in and out of different places. And he also he wanted to get out of there.
Right.
He again. And I actually think in some way, on some level, in some part of his mind, he might be embarrassed by how he behaved in the later stages of his Heat career. Because he did have good times with some of those guys and some success. And he really was an a-hole down the stretch and leveraged his way out. So I think he comes into that game with a weird emotional baseline. Luka was, to the extent he can be, all in Dallas.
Yeah.
He was, loving life in that respect. And, this trade was, out of the blue for him. And I think he comes with a much different emotional baseline to this particular game. It's like, you guys did me wrong. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to kill you because you did me wrong, and I'm going to give these fans who still love me something to see.
Yeah.
And I think his motivation is at a different place than Jimmy's.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Let's see if he puts up a 50-piece. We'll circle back.
Go for 60, man.
Well, go ahead, 30 and 30.
Burn it all down. Burn the forest.
Not just the house.
That was my favorite part of the Batman movies. Do you watch the Batman movies?
Actually, yes and no.
There was one of them with Christian Bale, and you had Alfred the Butler. And
Christian Bale. That's Batman Begins, right?
I don't know.
That's the one. Is that the one where in the beginning it's kind of like he's overcoming his fear and all of that?
Could be. In all seriousness, I'm not gonna lie. The only scene I remember is the scene I'm about to describe.
Oh, go ahead. Let me see it.
It was Alfred the butler, and they were talking about a situation, and Alfred's telling some story back when they were there. They were having some trouble with some, like, guerrilla fighters or whatever, and kind of about, well, what'd you end up doing? He said, burn the forest down. Just burn it all down. Like, that's it. There's nothing left. So hopefully Luka does that in the second half here. Drops 60 in Dallas and sends Nico to his car early.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that happened, they burned the force down in Denver, man.
They did.
Fired Mike Malone. They fired the GM, okay, and all of that good stuff. What's funny about that is I was a few weeks ago talking about the black GMs and whatnot, and I was saying, well, the guy in Denver, I'll give you him if you must, but he really hasn't done much because Jokic, remember, is already there. What has he done? And bingo, he's out of there. So there you have it. All right, so you can have him if you want, but I'm telling you. So Calvin Booth, he's out of there too. And as the days go by, we're finding out, and Jokic actually spoke on it today, and basically, he just said, he understood the move. It was his words, but basically said he understood the Malone firing, and he was informed of the decision beforehand, which of course we all know any star in the NBA is if not make the decision themselves, they're definitely going to know. Well, I mean, LeBron says he didn't know about Luka, but I think LeBron is a guy we can't really trust.
LeBron's a historical liar.
Yeah. So you got the Jokic saying he understood. He didn't fight for Mike Malone. He just said, hey, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And basically, essentially, it was a couple of things why Mike Malone was let go in this. Jokic said the team, the defense part of it, felt like his defensive principles were getting stale. Then, him calling out a couple of players in the presser, that didn't help, okay? And then from the ownership view of it, they're saying that the relationship between Calvin and Mike Malone had pretty much soured to a point where they haven't even spoken in months.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's really a partnership. The GM and coach is supposed to,
it should be a partnership.
And Calvin wanted Mike to play a young player over Russ in a few games. And especially when Russ had that blunder, that was a game where Calvin specifically told, Mike, got a message to him, hey, I want this young player here that we drafted to play more minutes than Russ. And then when Russ goes out there and misses a layup, fouls the guy, apparently Calvin lost his shit, and there was a huge blow up over that. And then there you have it. And the ownership was like, okay, we'll just get rid of both of you guys. They probably was going to do it anyway in the off season. Let's just do it now.
Yeah.
And there you have it.
Yeah, I mean, Malone has enjoyed a pretty good reputation as an NBA head coach and has had a good amount of success, but it can get stale. I mean, to me, the most surprising thing was to do it, a week or so before the playoffs, and you're a playoff team. It's one thing if you're not. I was just surprised by the timing of the move. It felt like Denver was not getting better, overall. From the title team to last year to this year, there did not feel like there was an upward trajectory in what they're doing. And to me, that's always the coaching thing. Like, you always have to create a feeling that the group is moving forward in a positive direction. And when you can't do that for whatever reason, as a coach, you've kind of outlived your usefulness. That's just what it is. Interestingly, I saw, do you know the college coach Buzz Williams? You know who he is?
I've heard that name.
He's bounced around a bunch of different schools. He's like an interesting character, but he has a 6 or 7 year theory, and he's never going to stay at a job for a 7th year. And his last 3 or 4 jobs, he's left. And he goes, his theory in successful coaching is this: go to a bad job, start winning. And by the 5-6 year mark, you've gotten as good as you're going to be there, and you're only going to either plateau or regress. And even in either situation, you've created an expectation you're not going to meet anymore, and it's time to go. And so he's literally been a college head coach for Marquette, Virginia Tech, Texas A&M, like a bunch of different schools. And he always leaves in 6 years when he's, again, he's the type of guy, he's never won a natty. I don't think he's been to a Final Four, but his teams are almost always in the tournament. They always play pretty well, and he just kind of keeps moving on before the expectations swallow him up.
Yeah.
It's an interesting way to do it. It's probably a great way to be employed, but I wouldn't do it myself.
That seems a little too.
I want to win things.
Yeah.
I do. And that's.
And I'm not satisfied if I didn't win. There's a salty taste in my mouth. I have to stay here until I win something of significance. Now let me ask you this: from the NBA this season, what has been the most surprising thing? I'll give you a few things to choose from. You have the Mike Malone and Calvin Booth firing. You have the Luka trade. You have Detroit Pistons being good. And the 76ers collapse. What has been the most shocking?
Luka, without a doubt.
That really shocked you?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
This is a guy that led a team to the finals, in the prime of his career. And, you could look back and look at factors like Cuban's not the owner anymore and some other things and suggest that this was possible. But there's no way. The night that came through, I was legitimately shocked.
Yeah.
My first reaction is is this real? What account is reporting that? None of the other things that you brought up approach that. I'm pleasantly happy because I kind of like Cade Cunningham that Detroit is doing well, but I'm not surprised or blown away by that. The Malone firing, again, the timing is surprising, but it doesn't compare to Luka. And the 76ers collapse, while unfortunate, particularly for you, it's just not something I give a shit about. I just don't care. They don't matter to me. Embiid playing a lot, which kind of almost is something that in hindsight never happened, is okay. And you kind of felt weird about him at the Olympics.
Yeah.
He had a few moments, but he
He never looked great.
He never looked great.
But he did have a couple of moments, but he never looked great.
He didn't even look like he was enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
And almost everybody
he was in
else.
pain, that's why.
But that's the telling factor.
Yeah.
You had 10 guys that were having the time of their life. You had Jason Tatum and you had Embiid.
That's
your Olympic team.
That really was.
For different reasons.
Different reasons. Yeah.
Tatum was the odd man out in the rotation, and then Embiid was apparently in pain the entire time.
Yeah.
So, and apparently based on his sort of smug response to some other guys appearing to be high, he might not have been medicating himself with weed. Which might have changed his spirits a bit.
Yeah. I know KD was loaded.
Yeah.
No, that's for sure. I guess the Luka trade is the most shocking. I'm trying to pull myself to one of the others, but those are probably the most four shocking things of the NBA.
Yeah, I would think for the year.
Surprising, just for this particular season. Yeah.
I would the other one I would throw in. It's not anything anybody has control over, but like Wemby with the.
Yeah, I thought about that. The blood clot.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Ross blood clot. Yeah.
I felt like that was a downer.
I think it was just more of a downer than anything.
Yeah.
He was a sure lock for the Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Then you just had got the trade with
Fox.
With Fox, they was making a push for the play-in.
Yeah. And the nature of that particular thing is very much unknown. I'm still not close to being convinced that he returns and has the trajectory it looked like he was on.
Things happen with really tall people in this league, man.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. Lucky for guys like Shaq, it didn't happen till pretty much, towards the end of his career, pretty much.
His was self-inflicted being fat.
Yeah.
His was just a lack of fitness.
Without that, he would have, his prime would have lasted a lot longer.
Yeah.
And it's not because, so essentially you're saying it's not because he was a really tall person.
Yeah.
So maybe he's just an anomaly, but yeah.
Oh, Shaq was an anomaly. But
for the most part, yeah, things happen.
Bad
things happen.
I love that you posted the clip from the Gators championship.
Yeah.
And Kodak's reaction.
Oh, and Wemby.
And Wemby, look at the reactions. And Wemby, nothing. He didn't raise an eyebrow.
Well, that's the funny thing because it's the thing says Kodak and Wemby reacts to Florida winning that championship. So that's what makes it hilarious because Wemby doesn't even do anything.
You could literally just make memes of him and like wetatever else could have
going
been. You could
on
just
in the
make
back
up
in the back.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like Wemby attending a gangbang. Like, Wemby watching the Eiffel Tower collapse. Like you just like there was nothing. Total zero.
Oh man, that's crazy. Once again, you guys are on the bench, still on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We're available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Speaking of the Gators, we might as well go there. Okay.
See, I set you up like a good volleyball setter.
There you go, man. Got to get you on the court with some of those big booty shorts women. All right. So the Gators, man, first and only school to win 3 national championships in football and basketball, as they just won the basketball, NCAA championship there for the 1,005th time. I'll take my credit in saying I looked at it at the beginning of the year and I said, hey, Pink, this is the best team in college basketball, and it panned out. They held up their end of the bargain and they won it, man.
Yeah.
Now, we don't really have to go over the game because it's a little old here, but I will ask you this. Now that they have 3 in football, they have 3 in basketball, do you look at the Gators as any other type of way than just a football school? Or do you still look at them as a football school, or can they be a blue blood basketball school now?
That's an interesting question, and it's a question that we dealt with last year with regard to UConn, because they'd actually accumulated, I think, 6 titles at this point. And that blue blood thing, it almost feels like old white money. And it's like it's only bestowed to like these other teams. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like you're ever going to break through that.
No matter what.
That's what I feel. You just have like your old-timey like Carolina, Duke, Kentucky.
Take blue blood
Kansas.
out of it. Take blue blood out of it.
Yeah.
Can you, because UConn, whether they're blue blood or not, they are a basketball school when you look at them.
Yeah, for sure.
So Florida Gators, can they be recognized as a basketball school?
They have to be recognized as a basketball school because, again, 3 titles in, basically within a 20-year window. They're right on par with what anybody else has accomplished over that time span. So without a doubt, I think they're there. But again, it's gonna they are a basketball school, but I don't think like that doesn't make them a football school.
Yeah,
they stand in a unique place as an athletic program. Because again, when that came out like the day after the title game, it made you kind of think. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that they're the only one. And then you start kicking around in your head, well, who else could come close?
Yeah.
And there really is, very few teams that have that sort of balance amongst the big programs. There's always something like, Connecticut's virtually exclusively a basketball. I mean, Villanova's got a handful of titles. They're exclusively a basketball. I mean, unless Bill Belichick reinvents himself as a college coach, Carolina's never been a serious football contender for a title. Kentucky, same way. They have a certain level of football. They make bowl games. They usually win more games than they lose, but they're not winning titles.
No.
And you just go down the list, and there's just very few teams that are even in the mix for that in any way. So it is a tremendous credit to the Florida athletic program that they could put this together.
No, that is for sure. It's definitely surprising, especially when the different eras, because when you win 06, 07, take a while to win again, but just like to win it all, man, it's really. It's impressive, man. It's impressive to win with a totally different group, totally different coach, totally different program, and all of that good stuff. Utilizing the transfer portal now and all of that good stuff. Now, I said this in a post as well. I said it too when we were watching the game. The last time the Florida Gators won in basketball, they followed right up and won in football that following year.
You probably said that within 30 seconds of the final whistle.
Well, it was on my mind.
Yeah. You were sitting on that one.
I was sitting on that one. Pause. But yeah, I was definitely sitting on that one. Shout out to Champ, man. He's
ladies and gentlemen, there might not be an actual pause.
Champ here with another pause too. I like the show. Keep it coming. Pause.
Yeah, you got it, bro.
All right, and appreciate the dollars too, man.
Yeah, man.
All right, but yeah. So, what do you say to that? Because
wait, what do I say to what? the football team winning a title this year?
Yeah, I think we're a year away. But I give us a shot. I give us a shot at the playoffs.
Yeah,
but I do think we're a year away from.
I was going through the schedule though. Like
it's another tough schedule.
Schedule.
It's another brutal schedule.
But
not as brutal as last year, but it's still brutal.
But we also kind of know that you can be a 2-loss team and still get there in this format.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be perfect. You got to be good at the right time.
Good at the right time,
which is what Ohio State was
in the SEC mix.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good enough to get out of the SEC, good enough to run the table. Like that was it. Ohio State, and I despise them, but they were at their best down the stretch. Like they played their best football those last 3 games.
Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, you got to realize that's what you've got to do.
Yeah.
And the Gators were very good all year basketball wise, but they beginning with that SEC tournament, I think they kind of like bumped the level.
Yeah.
And they were locked in at a different level to their credit the rest of the way. And that's what you need. So if you're saying can the Gators win a title, potentially. I'm not sold on Billy Napier as being a really good football coach.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's part of the
There's
mix.
that.
It doesn't. I mean,
There's
maybe they can. I can't rule it out. And when I say that, I'm not being a Florida State guy and a hater of that. I just think Billy Napier is a guy that he needs to show that he's that guy.
He has to prove it. For me, it's just the play calling. I think building a culture he's done. And of course we know about his recruiting. He's a A-level recruiter, and he has built the culture. But his refusal to come off of the play calling is troubling, because it's like that's clearly a weakness for you, and you're not willing to look to outsource that. So yeah, that's to be seen. And yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah, but they seem to have lined up some personnel, and they have it. I would just characterize it as a good chance. Sadly, Ohio State's not going anywhere.
No. Ohio State's not. Texas.
They might be better at quarterback next year.
Texas is going to be strong.
Yeah, you still got Jeremiah Smith. You still got Caleb Downs. I think Georgia's trending downward. I'm not telling you they're going to win 6 games this year, but they don't have an answer at quarterback. They haven't had an answer at receiver, other than tight end Brock Bowers in the last couple years.
Who's a beast, by the way.
He's fantastic, but they haven't had a great receiver in a long, long time, and that's important. And that it's just. I think there's some imbalance there. And then when you talk about culture, they've had 25 guys arrested during a window of time in which they've won 24 football games.
Wow.
So, there's something going on that's not good there. And so I'm not here to, Georgia's, I'm going to say this, they're a good bit removed from the team that won back-to-back titles. They've got some catching up to do. They've kind of lost control of their house and their environment, in my estimation.
Now,
Texas,
go ahead.
And that's the other team. I like the talent level. I think Sarkisian's a weakness as coach.
That's interesting, because my whole focus, of course, is on Manning.
Yeah.
But that is interesting, because you might be right about that. But I can't sway my focus away. I'm just so interested to see how Manning is going to look back there, because he's supposed to be the next coming, man. He's supposed to be the next #1 overall draft pick, all of that great stuff.
Well, he gave us the flashes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he definitely flashed.
And again, go back 2 years. 2 years. He's playing in the spring game and played poorly.
Yeah.
And there's video and clips, and it's like, God, is this guy, does he only have stars next to his name because of his name, and all that? And there was no doubt. I mean, he showed himself to be a good passer, a good runner last year. Can he build on that and really be a dominant player?
Yeah. Now, Champ is asking about the Duke and the Duke aspect in Houston, but the Duke, we're a couple of days removed, but we both said, that was just a crazy collapse, man.
I said it's the worst collapse in Duke history, given the circumstances of the game and the stage of being in the Final Four when you were probably the favorite to win it all. By a considerable portion, of the college basketball community, to be up 14 with 8 minutes, to be up, 6 with 33 seconds left, and to lose. I mean, that's horrific. And you could talk about Houston's effort and this and that, but part of the job is this: execute when other people play hard. Like, that's what this is about. Like, yeah, people are going to play hard at times and play with great energy and whatever. But, like, if you want to be a champion, you got to execute in those situations.
Yeah.
Control the ball, hit a couple free throws, go home with a win. That's the difference between, being a champion and being bad. And what makes the Duke collapse so bad is that they had enough margin to still get by. When you have these, fortunately, you had to line up so many mistakes to lose in the situation they lost. It wasn't like a 1 or 2 possession game all night.
It was a 2-minute stretch.
That that the other team has a better 30 seconds than you at the end, and they steal the win. No, you choked.
Yeah.
And
how much of that do you put on Cooper Flag?
He was, sadly, he was integral in a couple of the plays that went south. I don't think his final shot was a disaster.
No.
Tough turnaround with a good contest. You're not going to hit that every time, But, again, there's kind of that, that belief that, when you're the guy, you find a way to make that shot go in, But we said last week, maybe we said on the show, maybe we just said it privately, Cooper Flag may not be like a true number one option. His best career path or best dynamic might be as like being the elite number 2 star to a high touch, high volume, alpha. And that's in part because of how hard he plays and the versatility and the amount of different ways that he can impact a game. But he does not have like elite scoring ability. In terms of shot creation and things of that nature. And again, it kind of happened to him. I don't like spin guys. And when he took off and drove, he got cut off and he had to spin, and you end up taking the contested shot where you're not going to draw a foul.
Yeah.
Unless the guy's stupid. And I to me, that's I don't like when I'm watching guys and over 50% of the time they drive to the basket, they end up having to spin. Like,
no, he may never be a natural scorer, elite scorer, like you said. I see him as an Iguodala 2.0. I'm searching because he is a natural power forward, so I'm looking for somebody that's a bigger body. But you get, like you said, a do-it-all guy. And all of that good stuff.
No, and Jim, I don't disagree with you. I mean, he played very well, and he did, over the course of the game, stuff the stat sheet as he often does. But we can't escape the fact that he was involved, missed a box out, ultimately missed the last shot. I think he might have missed a free throw in that segment as well. Like, he did some things that definitely hurt the game. And if he's the player that I think he is, he's going to feel responsibility for that loss.
LeBron, he wasn't a natural scorer either, but he was an elite driver of the basketball. He at least had that.
Oh, gosh.
And so Cooper doesn't have that either, so that may not be it.
1-4 low with Mike Brown.
And that was like,
back when he was in Cleveland in the early part of his career, they would go 1-4 low, and I remember specifically when they would play the Magic. It's like, he's going to get by whoever's in front of him.
Yeah.
And Dwight's going to be there at the basket. And what's going to happen? Block, foul, score. Like, it was a crapshoot. There was but when you were watching Cleveland, there was no way that he's not getting to the cup.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just going to be, okay, what happens when him and Dwight get there? Referee's whistle, fair play. Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And when you're defending that, like, you're like, he can literally do that, and I'm not exaggerating. He can drive like that probably 25 or 30 times a game.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Dwight has 6 fouls and he's out. And I always felt that in those matchups. It was just like he could drive enough that he could get Dwight out of here if the whistle goes his way.
100%.
Just on pure volume.
100%. All right. Let's go here. Let's go here. I had a quick little game here for you.
A game. I enjoy games.
One has to go. You got Allen Iverson, you got Paul Pierce, Tracy McGrady, and Dwayne Wade. Now, if you look at it, it's T-Mac with the Magic. This is the D Wade. This is with LeBron D Wade.
LeBron D Wade, not pre.
No, that's what that D Wade is. And then the first time Paul Pierce with Boston, of course, and then AI first time with Philly.
Well,
they both came
what's
back.
What's my criteria?
One has to go. Just as far as who's best, who's better.
What am I doing with the other 3?
You're keeping them.
But
you want me to go back?
Yeah, go back.
Yeah. So one has to go. The one who whatever, the worst one out of the group to you, who's not the best. You keep the 3 best.
I'm gonna pretend that Paul Pierce succumbed to those stab wounds.
And what, Paul Pierce has to go?
Yeah. Never made it back from the stab wounds.
Oh man, let me see. He said T-Mac, one of his all-time favorites. For me, man, it's T-Mac, man.
Oh, I figured you were gonna say that.
Yeah, I being in Orlando, I never understood the T-Mac thing, man. I never understood the T-Mac craze. This is a guy who never made it to the second round of the playoffs. And let me tell you something, man. In the history of basketball, I don't care about sorry teams and unlucky and all of this and that. I mean, Embiid has never had a healthy season, but he's gotten out of the fucking first round. Like, anybody, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting out of that, man.
Yeah,
if T-Mac is who people say
why,
he is.
Like, that's why I asked,
then,
like, what am I actually doing with these people?
It's who's better?
Yeah, I don't know. It's all situational.
Like, I think Paul Pierce, D Wade, and AI are considerably better. But it's an interesting grouping because T-Mac does have a ton of fanfare. And
I really think T-Mac's the most physically talented guy there.
Probably so.
And
probably so.
I can't.
And that's unfortunate. He didn't do a lot with that talent.
I mean, fair point.
I just don't want a guy who didn't cap 50% of that.
Yeah.
No MVPs. No fucking the extended playoff runs at any point. Not even 1 year.
But
you can't sneak.
I can't keep a guy that shit his pants in the final.
Paul Pierce, he's
shit his pants.
Oh yeah, he shit his pants, but he's won championships.
He faked an injury to cover it.
Huh?
He faked an injury.
Yeah, but that's all comedy,
pants.
Man. Like, Paul Pierce is a fucking warrior, man. He battled and fucking won championships. Went toe to toe with Kobe Bryant in the fucking finals and outplayed him. Outplayed him.
At the end of the day, like, I just made a decision on who I like better.
You do that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do that quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm literally trying to find the better player, not who I like more. I mean, fuck.
But the better player is circumstantial.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
There's no way T-Mac is better than Paul Pierce, man. Under any circumstances.
For me, I would take him.
Him and Vince Carter can't get out of the fucking. That's. Come on, man.
But that, again, context. Are we gonna play 1-on-1 at the park? Are we gonna?
No, this is team basketball.
Yeah. Well, you didn't say all that.
Who you think is better? Yeah. Who is the better guy?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're not doing a 1-on-1 tournament. Kyrie might beat everybody in the history of the league.
Was it one of the 4?
Do you think Kyrie is better than Jordan? I'm just saying, like,
No, hell no.
Yeah.
I don't think God himself is better than Jordan.
So there you go. I'm talking about 5-on-5 basketball, man.
Yeah.
And careers and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Nah, I'll stand on my decisions. Paul Pierce is out.
Not incredibly bad. I guess that's the second guy, so. and I won't throw you in the trash for that. All right. And also, he's not as athletic. And you're not big on
On athletic guys.
On non-athletic guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Paul Pierce is a little more my speed. Maybe I'm rooting for him. You know, I'm sort of like an older version of Paul Pierce myself.
Really?
I mean, when Paul Pierce was like, 40, trying to hang on. Yeah, man. That was me.
But I've never seen you dribble more than twice back to back. Ever. I literally don't think I've seen you dribble the ball twice consecutively. In live action.
Oh yeah. Champ's definitely agreeing with you, man.
Oh, I know.
Let's
rightly so. I must say.
Let's move into this because you made a good point about this a couple of days ago. So this is about Paige Bueckers, and this article is about how her game would translate to the WNBA and all of that good stuff, and comparing her to Caitlin Clark and Sue Bird as far as a rookie coming into the WNBA. But what I wanted to take this at is why Paige Bueckers, as a white woman in college basketball, why she has not received the same level of attention and all of that good stuff as Caitlin Clark when she won the national championship, when she performed well throughout this entire year. She's a star in the college women's college basketball.
Yeah.
You know, Caitlin Clark is a person, I told you a while back, you know, she's never won at any level. Never won in high school. Never won in college.
She went in high school?
No.
In Iowa?
Didn't win in high school.
She's from Iowa, right?
I know.
But,
yeah.
No, I mean, like,
yeah. Oh,
yeah.
In a small town.
Okay.
Never won in high school, never won in college, and hasn't won in WNBA. But she's like the hottest thing since fish grease. But Paige Bueckers, you know, she can't even get a fucking, you know, sneakers ad. You know?
Yeah. To me, it's, you know, it's all about race. And I know that they're both white, and it's what the fuck you talking about. But what made Caitlin Clark what she was? And now here's the deal. Take nothing away. Caitlin Clark's a great women's player. Paige Bueckers, great women's player. That's not why what happened. What happened was Iowa, with the basically all-white team from the 50s, makes a tournament run and runs into LSU with Angel Reese and a largely black team, and they lose the game. And that moment when Angel Reese like made like the gesture or whatever, that triggered white people in this country, like every damn positive black thing in the planet does. And they became essentially protective of Caitlin Clark, the valiant white loser. And that triggered the reaction where she became bigger than college basketball, bigger than women's basketball as a whole. She became a cultural figure because of that. And it's that simple. It's, you know, again, terrific player. I don't think until that happened, like, she even like felt any kind of way of being some sort of bigger person. She's just an all-American player.
Oh, you're talking about Caitlin?
Like,
yeah.
And then she basically, all of this fell on her because of that. And it's that's the way we are in this country. That's who we are as a people. You know, you in the peak of this, you know, nonsensical, divided country, you have, you know, this black and white moment that becomes way bigger than it ever should have been. You know, because again, I don't even know, and I can't remember if she was interviewed on it. I don't know that Caitlin Clark even saw the gesture, or that the gesture was that big of a deal when it happened absent the context of, if Caitlin Clark was black, nobody says a word about that. It's non-factor. Two black girls playing a game and whatever. It does not exist. If instead of Angel Reese, that was UConn and it was Paige Bueckers and she did exactly what Angel Reese was, it does not resonate the same way. So this is who you are as a country. And, you know, I don't say this to denigrate Caitlin Clark at all, but like the euphoria and hysteria around her is a product of our own racial division. Yeah. Not anything you did as a player. Because, again, take that moment away, you know, she goes on and scores the points she does, loses in the tournament again, goes into the league, has the same stats. You know, and nobody would care. Right. Like, you know, the WNBA fans who that niche of people would watch and care and debate whether she's proper Rookie of the Year or not, and that would be it.
That's a good point, but how long will it follow her though? Like, is that just now she just has that for the rest of her career? I mean, talking about Caitlin Clark.
I mean, on some basic way, it will not be forgotten, but like her career is, at some point going to be defined by her success in the league relative to her competitors.
At some point.
Yeah. And at that point, I don't want to exaggerate and say that that's not that far off. Like, but it's going to come down to, is she leading Indiana to championship level play in the league? Is she in MVP conversations? Is she just a solid all-star performer? Then that's what she's going to be known for, And again, that's just the way, people think. There are things that become bigger than the game, and that became bigger than the game. Her career going forward is largely going to be about the game.
Yeah.
But there's going to be people. When I say it's not going to be forgotten, I mean it by this. There's going to be people that became aware of her in that moment and became a champion of hers and a fan of hers that are going to stay on board for the ride. And they'll continue to track her career. And there'll be some of those people that'll also find a broader audience or a broader fandom for the WNBA. And they'll kind of keep watching maybe. But in that way. Beyond this, it's just going to be how good is she in the league. And I'm not here to tell you she's bad. She's a very good player. I don't particularly watch the NBA, so it's really not my bag.
I've almost thought about
getting her shirt.
No, I really wanted a Juju jersey. Then her injury kind of like, I didn't watch women's basketball again after that.
Yeah, I watched about 8 minutes of the final.
No, I didn't watch it.
It was in the second half when Connecticut grew the lead from 20 to 30.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I almost thought about why the women's players don't try to recreate that.
Recreate what?
The Angel Reese and Caitlin.
Oh, just randomly go out there.
Yeah, and fabricate that. And then number two, I've almost thought about doing that with this podcast.
Yeah.
Like creating some type of fake beef. Because that's, to equate it to the podcast world, that's like a lot of podcasts blow up from whatever, beefing with these other guys.
Yeah.
And then, people love to see that type of stuff. That's, like you said, it's just the country that we're living in.
Yeah.
And then, that would supersede your content or your play. But at the same time, they have to watch your play and your content in order to
follow the beef.
In order to follow the beef, it's like a recipe for great meatballs.
Yeah,
everybody loves a great meatball. You know
what's an underrated meatball?
What's that?
It's not even on the menu anymore. But the Olive Garden had a chicken meatball.
Oh wow!
That had some spice to it, man.
Oh, I love spice.
Yeah, it was an underrated delight.
And you said they took it away.
I don't think it's on the menu anymore. I haven't seen it in a while.
Why bring it up?
I just was having fun.
That's my type of
You
thing,
talked about meatballs, and I'm immediately, I'm thinking, what is the best meatball I've ever had in my life? And it was that Olive Garden meatball.
It sounds like that would be mine as well. I'll have to check in, man. I'll check in.
Start a campaign, Olive Garden, bring it back.
There you go.
The spicy chicken meatballs coming back to the OG.
No, but that's
Feel
good
free
stuff.
to send us samples.
Exactly.
Here at the show.
Please do.
O-Rep Studios.
All right, here we're gonna go. I'm gonna fire off some quick things here. All right, then we'll get into some NFL stuff. So, this is kind of NFL. Tyreek Hill, man.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. What you heard about this?
Literally just saw it coming to the show.
Yeah, because it's new. Yeah, so him and his wife were involved in a domestic dispute, according to police report. Now I have some details on that. Okay.
When you read, sometimes where my mind goes when you're reading that, involved in a domestic dispute, but it doesn't specialize with each other. Maybe they had a tag team match against the neighbors.
Tag team match. So, what I take from this article here is that her mother, so his wife's mother lives with them.
Okay.
And she called the police. Okay.
Oh boy.
So that's what I take from this article.
Yeah.
Now, When they arrived, the police said they spoke with Hill, his wife, and the mother. Okay, whatever, Alicia. Now, she told the officers she had been living with the couple since last November, shortly after their child. Okay, and she described Hill as very aggressive, impulsive, and said she feared for her daughter's safety. Now, she said authorities claim that the mother called the police. Okay, so she did call them after claiming that she witnessed Tyreek Hill throw a laptop on the floor. And video obtained exclusive by Local 10 News. Tyreek Hill holding the 5-month-old daughter while walking on the 35th floor balcony of his residence, then looking over the edge during a reported argument with his wife. So he's holding the baby, arguing with the wife on video. Okay. Said that the wife told the police that her and Tyreek had been arguing more frequently and stated that whenever she gives her opinion on anything they discuss, he becomes angry and throws objects around on the ground.
Have we considered she's stupid?
They had been attending couples therapy, but it was not working out. Okay. This is terrible, man. This is terrible.
In many ways, but like, which ways are you concerned about?
Okay, hold on. We're getting to some good stuff now. Okay. Money's incident is the latest in a string of the off-field issues of the Dolphins star that date back to last year. Okay, you're talking about last year's stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, as far as this is concerned, I think this is another. This is more horseshit than the referee thing, because he didn't do anything, man. Why are you calling the police? Go in your room and watch some more old shows, man.
Well, let's go one further. You shouldn't be living with your adult children.
Now that I don't know. I see a lot of that.
But it's not good to see.
I mean, no, it depends.
You see a lot of fat people.
Now, I'll say that Tyreek Hill makes enough money. Now, it's up to him because it's not his mom.
Yeah.
But yeah, he makes enough money where he can put her up somewhere or whatever.
Yeah.
But again, it's not his mom, so who knows if he wants to do that or not.
Yeah.
And then again, I don't know if she's sick or elderly or old or something. And then you got the baby there. I see a lot of times where the mom will bring the wife will bring in the mom just to help with the newborn baby for a while.
When they babies.
I've seen that. So
yeah.
I'm not sure about that. But to your point, things like this happen because, people argue, man. People in relationships and marriages, and you got Tyreek Hill, if I can, he's a superstar in Miami. I mean, he's allowed to fucking throw a laptop on the ground. He has enough money he can buy 1,000 laptops and bring them back. You called the police because he threw a fucking laptop on the ground?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Now you do need to get kicked out and be put in the old folks' home.
Yeah.
Because now something needs to happen now.
Yeah, for sure.
They're just arguing. He didn't touch her. He didn't do the Michael Jackson thing, was holding the baby over the thing. He didn't do anything.
Hereafter known as the Michael Jackson.
The Michael Jackson thing.
He's as connected to that. He's as connected to that as he was to the moonwalk.
No, because I saw they said he's on the balcony with the baby.
No, I know what you're saying. I think it's funny. I'm here for it.
Yeah. So this is terrible, man.
Yeah. I mean, there's no genuine aggression or harm directed toward this woman. You slammed the laptop down. It's an overreaction on her part. I still question that she should be in the house full time. Not a big fan of that. I mean, if she's like staying for a week or whatever, I get it. That's fine. But I'm just not a fan. I think adults, and especially adults in relationships, they need space because it's not always going to be pretty. But if it could be honest, it's not terrible. And I think when you kind of, I think putting an extra person in that dynamic just creates like a weird pressure. Because you always have to be aware of that extra person.
No, credit to Tyreek being him with the mother there. Because like you say, like if I got a girl and her mom is there, I'm not cursing and yelling and throwing things as much.
Yeah.
But shout out to Tyreek who just said, I don't give a damn.
The other side of that is like she has like an internal hype person too.
Yeah.
Because she's like, you need to stand up for that. Yeah, you can't be taking
it becomes 2-on-1.
Yeah, 2v1
every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so.
no, I mean, if it's 2v1 and you're actually doing things for me, you know what I mean? If the mother looks good or whatever. If you're into that type of thing. Well, other than that, it's bad news.
Into mother-daughter threesomes?
You know what I mean? If you're into that.
I know what you mean.
If you're into that. If not, then it's bad news and she needs to go to old folks home. I understand. All right, you know.
But Tyreek, though, like last year, he had the girl get like when some girl broke a leg doing some drills with him.
Yeah, that's what they were getting into. That's what they were getting into because they're saying that he might have pushed her and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
He's talking about things he did in the past, but things he didn't. That doesn't relate to what happens here.
Yeah, but even though he's not the bad actor in this necessarily, like he's got to tighten things up, man.
He does, but knowing that he got to tighten things up,
he dropped a bunch of kids like Nick Cannon last year.
But also this though, knowing that he's a guy who has stuff in the past, right? Knowing that, like he's the money man. You can't mess this up for something so small. You can't go straight to calling the police. Like this is a guy, like who knows, like you don't know what this could do for his career, for this, for that, because of things he's done in his past. Like something has to really happen, in order for you to put that type of pressure on him in his career by calling the police for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're a part of the village. You should want your grandchild to.
You're eating at the trough.
Yeah, man.
You're sucking on the tit of his wealth.
There you go. I don't know. All right.
Just be better humans, man.
That's it.
All across the board. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, mama got to relax. That's right. Shout out to Chip, man. All right. Okay, that was T Hill here. Let's go really quick, as like I said, there's a couple of things here. Nipsey, man. Lori London says she has no desire to be with another man ever again after Nipsey Hussle's passing because she already experienced true love with him. Okay, shout out to Lori. She's always been one of my, one of my celebrity crushes.
Yeah, for real?
Yeah, Lori's nice, man. Lori's nice.
I feel like she's running through a string of women right now.
Well, hold on. Did she say anybody or did she say man?
She said men. That's why I went to that other area.
Be with another man.
Yeah, probably when she said it was like another man. And she's got like 2 studs on the side.
So not even speaking directly on like Lori London or whatever, but just in that general principle, you're with the loved one, you're still at a relatively young age, whatever Lori is, late 30s.
Yeah.
And that person passes. Like, what is your take on that as far as getting back out there?
It's got to be a very personal thing. But my general overarching theme on this is don't say that. Yeah. There's no point in saying that. It just creates like it's something that you might fall short of doing, and it's okay to fall short of doing that. Like, what I mean is like, yeah, you love Nipsey, and that's wonderful, and it's tragic that you lost him, but to kind of put into the atmosphere that you're never going to find another person that you value and could ever have a relationship, it seems just a little like unnecessary. I mean, yeah, you're grieving and you need space to do that, and it could be you're nowhere near ready to involve yourself with another person like that at this point in time, but let life do its thing, man. Like you might find somebody else. It happens.
Yeah.
And I just don't think there's a lot of value in just saying that. Like it's if she said it, like why? Like just live your life. Again, it's not. I don't think it's like a dishonor to somebody that you loved if you moved on when they're dead.
Yeah.
You have the ability to do that, and I don't think it's a wrong thing. I mean, like, so there's people like, there's other situations where like maybe somebody's like dying, but it's not like a sudden death, and they know they're dying, and they almost give their surviving spouse the permission
the green light,
to live your life. Don't be miserable for however much long time you got. My time might be over, but if you find something that's important,
go for it.
Go for it.
I'll never forget. What Champ says. What woman
doesn't want to be in love?
Yeah, what woman doesn't want to be in love? Yeah. I think he think it's cap.
Yeah.
What I'll never forget, man, and just taking it on the lighter side of things is like after Nipsey passed.
Chris is like, that's how your girl's supposed to be.
Talking about Chris. Oh yeah, after you pass.
I gotta say,
I mean,
like,
you know,
when I was reading it, like, you know, as you're talking about it, I'm like, damn, Nipsey really must have put that down. You know.
They have enough D for the rest of your life. You must have really, no, but
that's quantity and quality.
What I thought about, what I never forget, is right after Nipsey passed, like a young Kodak, like whatever, 17, 18 years old at the time. He came out and was like, oh, you know, I can't wait to get with Lori London. Like, somebody give me her number or whatever. And like people were so pissed about that because it's like, oh, Nipsey's not even warm in the ground yet, and you're
it's cold in the ground.
or cold in the ground, not even cold in the ground yet, and you're going after Lori London or whatever. And T.I. started a whole beef and this thing and all of that.
It was disrespectful,
but it was a little distasteful. I'll say distasteful.
It's
I won't go that far. I
disrespectful,
go disrespectful.
man.
I mean, because in my mind, I'm still in the boat of like, you know, if a person is gone, a person is gone. Like, it's what is she going to do?
But
when is it time?
No,
I don't want to wait too long.
It is disrespectful to like just publicly rattle on with that.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people loved him. And a lot of people loved him as a couple.
It was out of pocket.
Yeah, just out of pocket.
It was out of pocket.
You know,
it was out of pocket. But,
did you
he's a young guy.
Did you see the what was the movie with Vince Vaughn and the guy with the crooked nose?
I've watched a ton
Wedding
of Vince Vaughn
Crashers.
films. Oh yeah,
Wedding Crashers.
Yeah.
But remember Will Ferrell in the back end of that?
Which situation? Because they had
the two men, Owen Wilson and their big thing was they would go to weddings, crash the wedding, and then try and find women to have sex with. Yeah. And then they met like their mentor, who was Will Ferrell. Distasteful. And he had moved on, and his big move was to go to funerals. And he thought that was like a better place to find approachable women.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was wild. But I guess so. Hilarious. Maybe Kodak saw that movie. Wedding Crashers might be in Kodak's top 5 films of all time.
Goddamn Will Ferrell, man.
Yeah,
he's a monster.
That's funny.
Okay, let's see here. Let me see here. I had another.
But
you
like, okay, I want to say like, okay, like there's no doubt in my mind though that there probably was a couple guys who are in some way close to Lauren London who definitely shot their shot.
Probably even close to Nipsey Hussle. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, when I say close to, like, around in your life, whatever. Yeah. They know that he's gone, and it's kind of like whatever. Yeah. But how about do you ever heard the story of Sam Cooke and Bobby Womack?
Yeah, because they had like, is that the one where they had tracks? They had songs too, like attached to that.
Well, I just know this. Like, Sam Cooke died. He was shot and killed in a hotel.
No, I don't know this. Okay.
And Womack was with his wife within 30 days.
Was with Sam Cooke's wife.
Widow in like 30 days.
See, that's tough.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. That's some
tough,
savagery
man.
right there.
Yeah. That's all Kodak was trying to do.
Makes you think he might have been with her a time or two before.
Yeah. That's what it makes you think.
Yeah. But let it be known that Sam was killed while he was with a prostitute.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
He went to a hotel and was with the prostitute. He apparently went to like the bathroom to get ready, and she took his shit and ran. And so Sam's like buck naked, and he runs out to chase her, and he ends up going to the lobby of the motel. And he's naked and he's agitated, and this older, heavy lady was the front desk person, and she shot and killed him.
What?
Yeah.
For what?
I guess she was afraid.
She thought he was a deranged.
Yeah.
He was deranged.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, like a naked, angry guy, like in the lobby.
What the f? I don't think I heard that story before.
But I mean, there's a whole nother twist to his life. Like, he was like one of the first black artists to like own his music. Yeah. And there's people that believe, there's some conspiracy. He was kind of killed, maybe set up in this situation.
Okay.
So
they probably paid her to take the fall.
Could be something like that. Yeah.
Screw you, old fat lady.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of old fat ladies, women over 40
Wow.
are having more babies than teen moms for the first time in U.S. history.
That escalated quickly. Whoa.
Oh, man, 2 points for me, man.
Yeah, maybe
That was
3. I don't know.
a half-court shot there.
That's 3, my Wow. That's interesting,
right?
Like, yeah, like I was always like, and I don't maybe I'm not particularly enlightened in this. I was always under the impression that like having kids in your 40s, if you can have them, it creates like a high risk pregnancy.
Yeah.
So if that's accurate, that's a little distressing. But it is what it is. But again, we can't be too happy with teen pregnancy either. So it's probably on the whole a good statistic. You would assume on some level that women in their 40s are a little bit more situated in life to provide for a child and give them the best opportunity to be successful in life. So it's probably not the worst thing.
No, yeah, it's not the worst thing. It's just interesting because I've always been under the thought that it's hard for women over 40 to have children.
Yeah,
like,
that's
from a medical standpoint.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's why it was very interesting to me because like, oh shit, has medicine improved to that degree or?
I would figure that has got to be a significant factor.
Something with
that there has to be with like the in vitro fertilization options and some of those things that's certainly got to be a factor in why those numbers are what they are.
Yeah.
I think just left naturally without anything. Any sort of scientific intervention, as it will, you're also just looking at it. It's very difficult for women in that age category to get pregnant naturally.
This also puts less pressure on 30-year-old men who are just getting into their careers and things like that. Well, women, hey, I got to have a baby right now or it's never going to happen. Chill out, man. There's a lot of women over 40 having babies now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less pressure.
We can string this out a little longer.
What's your name, man, with the yellow hat? I'm Bubba, man. I'm Bubba. This is Pink.
Yeah, he's very concerned about you with the 2 points on the half-court shot.
Oh.
Could be a sign of impending mental illness.
There you go.
Bubba has the working mind of a 73-year-old. Can't remember the fundamental rules of basketball.
Oh man.
That is an interesting stat, and I guess the one thing that I would always be
look at Eb.
All right, Eb, what are you worked up about? Wow's not going to cut it. We need to be specific.
Ebony, we're saying this is good for you. You still have time. There's still time.
That's too funny. I guess the thing, I don't know. I don't know. Like, when does menopause strike?
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Ebony, can you provide that answer for us?
Bubba, you should relax there, buddy. Okay.
She has a photo of me, and she's been threatening me to release it.
Release it where?
It's a naked picture of me holding a plant.
Really? Trying to get in front of the story?
Yeah, I'm trying to get in front of the story. She has a butt naked picture of me holding a plant, and she thinks she has me hostage. Yeah.
Not now. You've outed yourself.
Yeah.
Did she take the photo?
No, she didn't take the photo.
Okay. Who was the photographer?
It's another good question. But we're gonna move it along here. And I want to talk about our sponsor here, Royal13thebrand.com. Again, that is Royal13thebrand.com. Use promo code BubbaPink and be fresh here heading into the summer. He actually liked our last ad there talking about the short shorts and things. And
I like it.
And you talked about, you can't have a big penis in short shorts.
Yeah.
He liked that and shared it on his page.
He liked that and shared it on his page.
Maybe he'll get some.
Hopefully it doesn't cut into people buying short shorts.
Yeah. Big penis guys aren't going to be buying his shorts
They should.
anytime soon.
Come on. That's why I've held off.
I had a couple of let's go here because I wanna go here. It's always dicey going political here with Pink, but we'll make an attempt here. Now this is interesting with the tariffs, because here goes the thing, right? I feel like as just a regular Joe Schmo every day, when this term first came, I can honestly say I really didn't know what all the rage and talk was about. Even from what are tariffs and what is that? And I'm talking about maybe, a month or two ago, when all of this was really bubbling, and then you get into researching and all of this good stuff, and what does this mean? What does this mean for me? Yeah. Why is this important? But yeah, go ahead and get into that. But ultimately, I want you to explain, how can this be bad for your regular day American and all of that stuff? Yeah,
well, I mean, tariffs are basically a tax that's put on goods coming into the country for sale to the public. And so you could do a 10% tariff where the government demands and collects 10% of the value of the good as it comes into the country. You could do 25% tariff to do that. Now, the problem with that is that that cost is going to be passed on to the consumer. So, if Toyota is sending over a $20,000 car and there's a 25% tariff, now that car costs $25 to get here, and they have to sell it for probably $30 instead of $25 to make any money on it. And so what tariffs are going to do, if they're kind of this widespread thing like this moron's proposing, is it's going to literally make everything cost more. And we've already been bitching since COVID about that the cost of just common things have elevated. Now, the opposite point of this is to say, well, we're going to tariff these foreign goods, which will do one of two things. It'll force Americans to buy domestic products that aren't subject to the tariff and should now be cheaper, or it will entice companies to build or develop their products here so that they kind of escape the tariff. But the problem with the tariff is that not all this stuff is self-contained. You could say, well, I want to manufacture cars in the U.S. to avoid the tariff. But you may be paying a tariff on the various product components that perhaps have to come from abroad to make the car. So it's not a be-all, end-all answer to, hey, we'll just set up a factory in the U.S. and generate our, cars or laptops or whatever the heck you're trying to peddle.
You're saying that's not necessarily a go-to solution?
No, it's not. It's probably not at all.
Okay.
Now, the thing is, you're doing these widespread tariffs, affecting multiple countries, except Russia, of course. So he still wants a steady inflow of cum to his mouth. That's what the problem is. So basically so many things are impacted that it's going to drive the cost up of everything. Now, historically, the U.S. has used widespread tariffs in the past. And every time they've done it, it's resulted in a depression, economic depression. So that's the pathway that we're marching down. And so this is by, any level-headed economist agrees that this raises costs for for general citizens. It will result in loss of jobs and things of that nature here, and we will ultimately suffer. For what? My broader view is that we're part of a global economy. The economy is global now. And whether it's, you can't avoid that. You can't erect these fake barricades and say, well, we're only going to operate here within our space. That's not going to help us as people. We want access to the best of the best, and we want it at affordable prices. And the only way to do that is to be a player in the international global economy. And, that's the thing. Now, we have to look at how this guy operates. He may be using the tariffs, and again, apparently he's kind of pushed them back, which led the stock market to go up a little bit today. He may be using these as leverage points because he did some stuff early with Mexico and Canada, either threatening tariffs or whatever, and then ended up doing some negotiations on some things. And according to the Mexicans and the Canadians, they just offered him things that they were already doing, and he backed off. So again, this guy is without a brain, without a clue, without a plan. And these tariffs are potentially disastrous for regular people because it's going to drive the cost of goods up and really screw us. There's not a lot of upside to it. And
you're talking about like on most of our day-to-day things that we like. People are scared that this will happen to like even stuff we buy on Amazon. I mean,
well, if it's coming from overseas, yeah.
Like so, anything pretty much we're buying from overseas.
Yeah, anything that and like I said too, like even something that you think is like built or made domestically, if that company needs to import components or elements or raw materials to do that, and those things are subject to a tariff, it's going to drive that price up too.
Yeah.
It's not an effective economic tool. And this guy, wants to persist in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's next from here? And appreciate you, champ.
What should be next is assassination.
Realistically.
Nothing. I mean, at the end of the day, unless we are willing to revolt, like literally revolt, that we have nothing. He's in the White House. They control the Congress. They control the Senate. They can pass whatever the hell they want to pass, and we suffer.
Yeah, they do control that.
That's
house.
So there is nothing.
Yeah, I forgot about that aspect.
He like
if they didn't,
on a
it
couple
could be
things
pushed back.
like you have these stupid things like. Like they'll do something idiotic. Like the other day, they tried to remove Harriet Tubman from something, or they tried to remove Jackie Robinson's military record.
Yeah.
People get upset, and then it miraculously appears back up there. I mean, at the end of the day, this guy could just be, and he probably is, just a toothless bully who likes to talk a big game and do stupid, rash stuff to appear like he's commanding and in control. But when the rubber meets the road, he backs down.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be the reality of what we're dealing with. And in some perverse way, that's like the best case scenario other than my preferred scenario. But that's what we are. There's no stopping it.
Yeah.
Like in any way short of revolt.
Ain't no stopping us now. You know that song? We're on the move.
I do know the song. I don't like the reference to these idiots being unstoppable.
Oh man, no, that's.
I mean, the 2013 Knowles being unstoppable was okay.
Yeah. No, that's some good info. Okay, that's a good breakdown. Yeah. So the Lakers game is now over. Luka ended with 45.
And
they won. So yeah, he really went in cruise control second half. 45, 8 and 6. LeBron at 27. They won 112-97 against Dallas. Dallas, both of their big men are back. Of course, Anthony Davis. He had a bad game tonight though, 13 and 11, 5 of 13. Klay Thompson had another bad game. But Dallas, they have a chance in this play-in since Phoenix is, just totally shit in the bed. So Dallas will be in this play-in, and they'll have an opportunity. But, what is your overall take from this Luka game? What you
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers are a class above where Dallas is, so they should win this game comfortably, home or away. It doesn't matter. I mean, Luka answered the bell for, an emotional response to how Dallas did him, which is good for him. And again, Dallas is just such a mess. Even if they kind of make their way into the playoffs through the play-in, if that's still possible, they're not winning a series. They don't have enough talent to beat anybody in 4 out of 7 games.
Talking about Dallas?
Yeah, any playoff.
Not in the actual playoffs. No.
No playoff caliber opponent.
Could
they beat 4 games out of 7?
No, but they may can get in the playoffs by beating Sacramento.
I was going to say they might, even if they backdoor in through the play-in.
Yeah,
they're not. They're
not
beating.
They're getting swept.
Team. Yeah,
they're getting swept by OKC.
They'd be very fortunate to steal a game, maybe.
Yeah. I was going here next as far as let me see here. What did I have to say here? Don't lose it. Do not lose it.
What?
Don't lose it.
Don't lose what? What you're trying to say?
Yeah. It was right there, but I was interested in what you said about the Dallas thing, and I think I have lost it, man.
Oh, no.
I'm losing my mind.
Uh-oh. This, the midcourt 2-pointer, and now this.
The midcourt 2-pointer. I changed it from a 2-pointer to a half-court shot, first of all. Okay? But yes, I did officially lose it, so that's fine. It wasn't a huge point anyway. All right. Do you have anything on this? Kyler Murray feels like he has to run more in 2025 NFL season. He feels like, of course, he was a little banged up to end the year, but overall he feels like, hey, this is one of my best abilities. I need to do this more to give us a better chance at winning some ball games.
I agree. I mean, I think I think it's almost impossible to defend a thrower, a legitimate thrower and runner at quarterback. It's just impossible to defend because you can't cover everything. There always has to be a sacrifice. And, when the threat of the person running is real, you got to question whether you can play man-to-man defense.
Yeah.
Because you get guys with their back turned tracking a guy, there's nobody home, and whether it's extending plays or just kind of just turning it up for, 10, 5 yards, taking down. You could manipulate down and distance. I remember in that, Cam's MVP year. If you had 3rd and 5 or less, it felt like the house was stacked against you because they could call whatever play they want and he could get 5 yards.
Yeah.
They could just run him. They could set up for a pass, and if something's open, great. And then what does the defense got to do? And that's why I felt like the 3rd and 5 was just horrible. Because
and you said with who again?
Cam Newton. His MVP.
He would have been a monster with this tush push.
Oh gosh, yeah, ridiculous. Yeah. But at that amount of yardage, I mean, he falls down and forward, it's 2.5, 3 yards. And just what are you going to do? You've got to play like he's going to run, which means you're going to concede things in the passing coverage aspect of things. It's a nightmare to scheme against, and Kyler Murray certainly has that type of talent. I mean, he's really fast and, elusive. And it's if he's going to, it's all about decision making. When to run, when to not run, when to leverage the threat of running or leverage the threat of throwing to, manipulate the defense so you do the opposite. It's just, you've literally got the whole bag of works. If you can still read progressions and throw the ball accurately and be a genuine runner, it's very tough. But the counterpart of that is the durability. And what you find with most guys in the NFL, 17-game season plus, if you're a good team, you're hoping to play another 2 or 3 in the playoffs. You got to look at it as can I body sustain this? And most of those guys have to make calculated decisions when I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive and run. And he's a smaller guy too. And again, he said he's banged up at the end of last year. He's been banged up most seasons. And the reality is most NFL players, by the time you get to the later weeks in the year, they're banged up. They've got a problem. Nobody's feeling great, week 12 through 17 from a physical standpoint. No. Unless you're just starting. Or
if you're the kicker.
Yeah. I think he needs to run more. But it's got to be good decisions. He's got to pick his spots when it matters most, so he doesn't get too beat up.
And he's in an advantageous situation here. That division is really interesting as far as a new team can arise. Like in that division, you have the Rams, Seattle, and San Francisco. San Francisco 49ers, we've seen the best of them.
Yeah, they seem to be
on the
clearly in a downturn.
Yeah.
Seattle's been stagnant. They did, they got Sam Darnold now. They're maybe some changes there. Man. But to me, that you just don't know what you have there.
Yeah, it's not a stalwart there. And then
the Rams, as long as Stafford's there, they're going to be good. But I don't think they're going to be great. And then you've got the Cardinals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not in a division where it's impossible.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's my point to bringing that up. So as long as he brings it and it comes to play, I think they'll have an opportunity there.
They definitely need a leap out of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah,
he was okay.
Underwhelming though.
But underwhelming. And so, if he kind of plays at a level that brings him into the upper tier receivers, then they really might.
Who went higher, Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors? Do you remember?
Harrison was, I think he was 2.
Yeah, because Neighbors really popped off the screen, and
Yeah.
that was with a terrible quarterback situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you he has to really turn it around from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the hype around Harrison Jr. was really
Yeah,
high.
it was really high, man.
Like it was just this might be the most talented guy in the whole draft, and regardless of position.
And I don't see that. I mean, 1 year. What can you say? He's supposed to be an elite route runner, so if he turns that around, of course. But he's not uber athletic at all. So a lot of these guys who really like Malik Neighbors he's a monster, right? So maybe that's the reason why he pops off the screen earlier. Maybe it's going to take Marvin a couple of years to really get into his route running. And things
but
like that.
that's almost the problem with this, is that you were raised as a receiver by an elite route runner, and the thing at Ohio State that they all talked about was your polish.
Yeah.
Like you were supposed to be the guy that would have an advantage
More NFL
because
ready.
you came in more NFL ready, and that didn't pop in year 1. So it's kind of like, well, what's really going on here?
Yeah, that's tough. All right. Nothing else pretty much going on, man.
Just another hump day.
Just another hump day with no humping. We'll catch you guys next week, man. Trying to get a guest in here, so we'll see. Ebony, if you want to come on, let us know, man.
Yeah, man.
Stop ducking us.
Like you did with your telephone appearance. Heck, you could bring Bubba's photo and show the world.
She wasn't
He seemingly authorized it during this show. At least that's what I heard.
See you guys next week.
All
man.
right.